Qatar's foreign ministry said U.S. envoys Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner arrived in Doha to meet mediators on the U.S.-Iran peace negotiations. Tehran announced that an Iranian technical team will also travel to Doha, but denied agreeing to meet U.S. counterparts at any level. The visit follows 4 days of reciprocal strikes over the Strait of Hormuz, which threatened to derail the peace talks.
The U.S. envoy, Mr. Steve Witkoff and Mr. Jared Kushner, are here in Doha to meet with the Qatari officials, and so they are not here for direct negotiations with the Iranians. The technical meetings are still happening, and the mediators are working as go-betweens between the parties in the time being. We're not expecting any high-level Iranian officials at the moment.
Qatar's foreign ministry spokesman Dr. Majid Ansari said negotiations would cover the Strait of Hormuz navigation, Iran's nuclear program, and wider regional security. He added that discussions also continue over Iran's frozen assets.
Regarding the frozen assets, this is part of the 2023 agreement that was under the Biden administration between the United States and Iran to move $6 billion of the frozen assets of Iran to Qatar, to corresponding banks, European corresponding banks, in order for that money to be utilized in payment for humanitarian goods to be given to Iran. It is still the case. No money has moved yet.
Whether the U.S.-Iran talks happen, the reality of the navigation in the Strait of Hormuz is what dictates the urgency of the talks, with Iran digging in on its position that it controls the waterway. Despite the uncertainty over when senior U.S. and Iranian officials might meet face-to-face, Qatar says the technical negotiations are still moving forward. For Doha, keeping those talks alive may be just as important as preventing another escalation in the Strait of Hormuz. Mohammed Alashi, Euronews, Doha.
More than 1 million undocumented migrants in Spain have sought legal status under a scheme that has defied a wider European crackdown on irregular immigration, the government said on Tuesday, the final day for submissions. The vast scheme was predicted to benefit around 500,000 people, mostly from Latin America, when the left-wing government launched it in April.
Las más de 1 millón de solicitudes presentadas, querida ministra, demuestran hasta qué punto era necesario este reconocimiento de derechos y de responsabilidades. Porque detrás de cada solicitud hay una persona que ya vive entre nosotros, que quiere formar parte de nuestra sociedad con todos sus derechos y, de nuevo, vuelvo a decirlo, con todos sus deberes.
Sanchez has long argued that immigrants are needed to sustain the economy, the welfare state and pensions amid Spain's aging population and depopulation in rural regions. The number of applications submitted does not necessarily indicate how many migrants will secure their legal status. Applicants must prove they have a clean criminal record and spent at least 5 consecutive months in Spain before January the 1st. The authorities have 3 months to process their paperwork and decide whether to issue a work and residence permit only valid in Spain.
A bomb blast at a residential building in Monaco has seriously injured 3 people. The explosive device detonated at the entryway of a residence near the French border, severely injuring a couple in their 50s or 60s, along with a 13-year-old. Sources close to the investigation have identified the victims as the sanctioned Ukrainian oligarch Vadim Yermolayev and his family. Yermolayev has previously targeted by Ukrainian state sanctions for his alleged commercial ties to Russia. Monaco's leader Prince Albert II condemned the bombing as an odious act, confirming that all national security services have been mobilized. Cross-border surveillance footage shows the unidentified suspect fleeing the scene on foot into neighboring France, sparking a joint manhunt by French National Police and Monaco authorities.
A major emergency response was launched by the fire brigade, rescue teams and the police following the collapse of a 4-story apartment building in the Petralona area of Athens. Although initial reports suggested that 4 people were trapped inside, authorities later confirmed that all residents of the building were located and found safe.
Δεν ήξερα τίποτα για την κλίση της πολυκατοικίας. Απλώς είδα τη γυναίκα που μιλούσε με τον άντρα της και της λέει ο άντρας της έχει πέσει λέει, το σπίτι τρέχα. Και εκείνη τη στιγμή, επειδή τη γνωρίζω και τη γυναίκα και τον άντρα της, έτρεξα και εγώ μαζί της. Και είδαμε το σπίτι, την πολυκατοικία μάλλον όλοι κάτω. Και σκόνη, νερά, φοβηθήκαμε για το υγραέριο, μην γίνει καμιά έκρηση και τους απομακρύναμε όλους από κοντά.
The relevant authorities are investigating the cause of the collapse as there are reports that construction work being carried out on a neighboring building may have affected the structural stability of the adjacent property. Authorities have already taken 5 individuals into custody for questioning, including the owner of the building under construction, the contractor and the engineer responsible for the project.
Πανικός επικράτησε το μεσημέρι της Τρίτης στο κέντρο της Αθήνας ύστερα από κατάρρευση τετραόροφης πολυκατοικίας. Σύμφωνα με τις αστυνομικές αρχές αλλά και αυτόπτες μάρτυρες, κύρια αίτια της κατάρρευσης ήταν οι οικοδομικές εργασίες που διεξαγόντουσαν ακριβώς δίπλα από το κτίριο που κατέρευσε. Αυτόπτες μάρτυρες ανέφεραν ότι το κτίριο που κατέρευσε είχε πάρει κλίση από νωρίς το πρωί και είχαν υπάρξει προειδοποιήσεις για πιθανή κατάρρευσή του. Από την Αθήνα για το Euronews, Γιώργος Δημητρόπουλος.
Scandinavian airline SAS has placed the biggest order in its history. It has committed to buying as many as 40 twin-aisle aircraft from Airbus A330 family to renew and expand its long-haul fleet. The jets carry a combined value above 8.75 billion euros, but SAS is likely to have negotiated a discount for this large bulk purchase. The order includes new, more fuel-efficient A330-900, part of the upgraded A330neo range, and the older A330-300. First deliveries are expected from the early 2030s. The decision is a notable victory for the European manufacturer Airbus over its US rival Boeing. The Airbus deal follows an order last year for 55 Embraer regional jets.
Chief of the European Central Bank Christine Lagarde justified the rise on June 11 to ward off real inflationary pressures and said it wasn't just a mere insurance hike. Speaking at the ECB's annual forum on Monday, Lagarde pointed to the end of an era in monetary policy, referring to bond buying and emergency lending over the past decade.
Our analysis showed that holding interest rates constant would have left inflation north of 2% in 27 and 28. This was a decision that was based on what we had, what we saw in front of us.
Lagarde is calling it going back to basics.
When the environment reversed and Russia cut off our access to natural gas, we responded with a conventional instrument used in unconventional ways. But in today's environment, monetary policy now finds itself in a different position. We no longer need to reach for unconventional instruments. While we have them at hand, we can now focus on stabilizing inflation with policy rates as our primary tool.
According to Lagarde, the bar for the next move is simple. Let the data decide. The ECB no longer wants investors guessing its next step. It wants them to understand how policymakers will react to new data in a world where certainty has become rare.
Europe's climate change-fueled heatwave has added more than 700 million euros to electricity bills in France and Germany alone in just 1 week, according to new analysis by environmental NGO 350.org. Heatwaves drive up demand for cooling, and with increased electricity consumption comes higher prices. Comparing June 21st, 27th against a baseline the previous week, the analysis shows that electricity prices rose by an estimated 371 million euros in Germany and 360 million euros in France. The analysis, which is based on EU electricity price and load data, also revealed price spikes were particularly acute in the evenings. For example, in Germany, power prices last week rose from 86 euros per megawatt hour at midday to 566 euros megawatt hour at 8 p.m. This is particularly because the supply of cheap solar energy dips when the sun goes down, but temperatures and cooling demand remain high, especially during tropical nights when the temperature does not fall below 20 degrees Celsius. These extra costs come on top of elevated oil and gas prices due to the ongoing crisis in the Strait of Hormuz shipping route.
The U.S. Supreme Court has struck down an executive order signed by U.S. President Donald Trump that aimed to end automatic birthright citizenship for children born on American soil. During arguments in April, both conservative and liberal justices questioned the order's legality in a momentous case that was magnified by Trump's unprecedented attendance in the courtroom. Following the decision, Trump wrongly suggested that Congress could easily address it with legislation. It would take a constitutional amendment to overcome the decision.
We have, it's become a tourism, birthing tourism, they call it, a trend where people would just come and you just come onto the soil and have your child, and then they're able to avail themselves of the welfare state and everything else. It's been abused. I'm sure the conclusion from this opinion is going to be that you got to amend the Constitution to fix that. As we all know, it's a big challenge to amend the Constitution. It's only happened 27 times in our whole nation's history.
The 14th Amendment, adopted after the Civil War, states that all people born on American soil are automatically made citizens. Soon after he began his second term, Trump signed the order declaring that children born to parents who were in the country illegally or temporarily would no longer be entitled to citizenship. The restrictions had already been blocked by several lower courts and had not taken effect anywhere in the U.S.
Who offend the children.